My name is Paz Jack, and I'm currently in the non-clinical psychology master's program, and I'm doing this presentation on testing minimum competency in high school students. The first term that is relevant for this will be the term of intelligence. There's no set definition for it. Cohen and Swertlik 2018 describes intelligence as the abilities to acquire and apply knowledge, reason logically, plan effectively, infer perceptively, make sound judgments and solve problems, grasp and visualize concepts, pay attention, be intuitive, find the right words and thoughts with facility, cope with, adjust to, and make the most of new situations. Some researchers believe that intelligence is a single general ability, while others believe that it is more complex and is comprised of a range of skills and talents. Breakspear 2012 describes intelligence even more simplistically in that he describes it as the ability to forecast change and to act upon it. Children describe intelligence as positive interpersonal skills, while adults describe it as academic skills and achievements. It is an abstract concept, and since there is no one definition for it, some researchers question the usefulness of its concept. There are different types of intelligence, and again, that goes back to not really having a set definition for it. Gardner describes 7 types of intelligence, which were logical mathematical, bodily kinesthetic, linguistic, musical, spatial, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. There's also the term emotional intelligence, which Salovey et al. 2009 describes emotional intelligence as perceiving emotions, using emotions to facilitate cognitive activities, understanding emotions, and managing emotions. Others believe that the term emotional intelligence is more broad and simply describes the ability to adapt and thrive in different environments. And then lastly, we have academic intelligence, which is how well you do in the classroom. And it has been found that attention in the classroom does predict school performance, but that term does leave a lot of children behind, children with learning differences, children with ADHD, that have trouble concentrating in class, but they're not any less smart than the kids who can concentrate easily. For me specifically, English is not my first language, and I do have dyslexia, so I did struggle a lot in reading and math because words and numbers will just jump around, but I wouldn't consider myself like any less intelligent. I just struggled more. And with academic intelligence, people's own beliefs of whether intelligence is valuable or not does have a significant effect on their academic outcomes. So if someone perceives themselves as intelligent, then even if they're struggling in something, they will be able to thrive in it eventually. But if someone believes that they're not intelligent, they won't have the same outcome. So to measure intelligence, sometimes intelligence is measured as how well people do on a task, but doing so fails to paint an accurate picture of intelligence as skill relies on prior knowledge and experience. And again, since there's really no set definition for intelligence, it is really difficult to measure because we don't really know exactly what we're measuring. During infancy, intellectual assessments consist primarily of measuring sensory-motor development. That includes a measurement of nonverbal motor responses, such as turning over, lifting the head, sitting up, things like that. Whereas adult intelligence usually focuses on abilities such as retention of information, quantitative reasoning, the ability to express language and understand it, as well as memory and social relationships. But again, measuring intelligence is very difficult because there's no set definition for it, and therefore we are not really sure what we're measuring. So the 2 tests that are used to measure college aptitude in high school students are the SAT in the ACT. SAT used to stand for Scholastic Aptitude Test, and ACT was American College Test. However, they do not stand for that anymore. They're just the SAT and the ACT. Most colleges and universities require that their students take it. However, submitting SAT or ACT scores does not accurately predict success in college. The best predictor of college success is high school success. And students who do not submit their ACT or SAT scores are not less likely to graduate or receive good grades than kids who do. So the history of both of these tests, first the SAT. The SAT was first administered in the US in the early 1900s. It was used in the military during World War II and World War I to screen for service and jobs. Before the SAT, college applicants were faced with a wide array of entrance exams, so the College Board came up with a solution. And in regards to the military, it was used to determine what type of training a person should get. Having to hand score the test was a really tedious process, and they were able to start using machines in 1939, and that just solidified the popularity of the SAT. Further, in 1944, the GI Bill was passed, which sent thousands of veterans back to school and increased the popularity of the SAT. The SAT was developed in Iowa in 1959, and it was praised for its simplicity. Many opposed the SAT and the ACT. Carl Brigham is considered the father of the SAT, and the SAT has a very racist history that should not be ignored. Carl Brigham used the SAT results that he obtained from World War I Army recruits and concluded that immigrants were less intelligent than native-born Americans. Opponents of its standardized college testing proposed that the SAT is used to bolster Brigham's racist beliefs. They believe that the SAT is tailored by Brigham's views. Throughout the history of the SAT, Black students have scored significantly lower than white students or any other racial group. On the SAT, the average Black student scores 17 points, whereas the average white student scores 22 points. On the SAT, the average Black student scores 860 points, while the average white student scores 1,061. These average scores have remained the same throughout the past 20 years, even though graduation grades and college degree attainment for Black students have increased. Students with lower socioeconomic status are also unfairly impacted by the SAT because they cannot afford to participate in test preparation. This also kind of leads me to the college admission scandal, where celebrities paid for their kids to go to University of Southern California, and they were able to get in just because their parents were able to pay millions of dollars to get them in. It's definitely unfair to the kids who are just as smart, even smarter, and even more capable, and yet they don't have the resources. Moreover, students who are less likely to take a college aptitude test are minorities, women, first-generation college students, Pell Grant recipients, and students with learning differences. As mentioned before, opponents of the SAT claim that the SAT is used to bolster Brigham's racist beliefs. This is not an outdated issue. Even in 1960, large research universities such as Yale, Harvard, UCLA, Cornell, and Stanford had yet to graduate a single Black psychology doctoral student. Dr. Martin Luther King complained that Black people were systemically left behind and that Black voices were not allowed to contribute into fields of higher education, specifically psychology, which he called a psychological maladjustment. Dr. King asked the psychological community to support Black people going into the field of psychology and proposed that their contributions will be unique and would play an essential role in the civil rights movement. As a rebuttal to the SAT, Dr. Williams created the Black Intelligence Test of Cultural Homogeneity. The test was created in 1975 and was recognized as a genuine culture-specific standardized testing of intelligence. Some of the questions in the test, as outlined in Cohen and Swerlik 2018, are: what does blood mean? A vampire, B, a dependent individual, C, an injured person, D, a brother of color. Another question on the test, as outlined by Cohen and Swerlik 2018, would be: the following are popular brand names. Which one does not belong? A, Murray's, B, Dixie Peach, C, Royal Crown, D, Preparation H. They seem like ridiculous questions, yet Dr. Williams was awarded $153,000 by the National Institute of Mental Health to develop the test. With the test, Dr. Williams was able to demonstrate that Black test takers will outperform white ones. There are types of intelligence that are believed to be cultural, the difference between being book smart and street smart. While we don't consider being street smart a thing for college admission, it is a type of cultural intelligence that does matter. A person who's street smart is a person who knows his or her way around the streets, and someone who is characterized by street efficacy or their perceived ability to avoid violent confrontations. That's usually more common in children from low socioeconomic households. When it comes to Native Americans, they usually see intelligence as the contribution someone can make to their community instead of individual achievements. And then he coined the term Ebonics to refer to patterns of speech that Black people use that white people did not. Ebonics is just a blend of the words ebony as in black and phonics as in sounds, and at its core it just means Black speech. While Ebonics may seem like a trivial thing to study, research has shown that the way children speak at home has an impact on how well they do in the SAT. More specifically, Zwick and Schlemmer 2005 found that children who do not speak English as their first language or whose parents don't speak English, they underperform on SATs even if their grade point average is satisfactory. High schools further put children of color behind by disproportionately and inappropriately placing them in special education classes. Larry P. versus Wilson Riles is a lawsuit in California that alleges just that. The case established a precedent that banned IQ tests for educational placement in California. Further, academic underachievement by children of color could be tied to a self-fulfilling prophecy in which they don't believe that they're capable of achieving more, so they don't. And also, children of color tend to be put into public schools that are underfunded and overcrowded. So in conclusion, college aptitude tests and all types of tests administered during high school leave children behind due to not properly adapting to its each child's individual and unique background, abilities, and culture.